Hi, how's it going? My name is Charlie and I am heavily sunburned, as you can probably see. Look at that. That is wild. I could have covered up, but I really wanted to wear this outfit, so we're rolling with it. Last weekend I went on a hike for my birthday that was only supposed to be, I think, 2 hours, and we ended up hiking for about 4 because I got us lost. But we did see cows, so there was that. Today I want to talk about recovery, but from someone who is almost on the other side. So if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen my post where I talked about being in remission. I didn't really talk about it, it was just like a very short reel about me being in remission, but essentially what that means is I'm kind of the step between recovery and recovered. So it means I'm kind of on the road to being recovered, which is really exciting and a little scary, but mostly exciting. I get asked very often for tips on how to recover, and I want to make this very clear now. I don't think that there are tips to recover. I think it is a very long and difficult process that is worth it, and it is rewarding and amazing, and I think that anyone who's considering recovery should do it. That being said, I think that there are things that you can do to make your recovery easier on yourself. So I'm not going to give these tips that these things are going to make you recovered, these things are going to move the process along. These are just things that I have done that have made recovery easier on me, which is important because recovery is hard. It is like a full-time job, and doing things to make it easier on myself really made it easier for me to get to the point that I am, at least in my opinion. I also, like I do with pretty much every video when I talk about recovery and stuff, major content warning, we're talking about eating disorders. I'm not going to be talking numbers, sizes, habits, things like that, but I am going to be talking about hopefully things that you can replace those habits with. So if you're just not in the right headspace to hear about talking about eating disorders at all, I recommend watching a different video. A disclaimer that I am not a professional of any kind. I am not a therapist, a dietitian, nutritionist, psychologist. I'm in school to be a kindergarten teacher. So take all of this with a grain of salt and just know that this is my experience, stuff that I went through, and hopefully some of it you can take what you want and leave what you don't. And with that being said, let's get started. Also, really quick before we get started, I totally lied. We're not getting started yet. I have also been asked if I have a Patreon a number of times. So I did create a Patreon. I'll have it linked down below. But if you want to wait till the end of the video, I'll talk about it a little bit more. Or you can check out the link, or you can just ignore and skip the end of the video, whatever you want. Okay, but now let's actually get started. My sunburn is really distracting. I hope that it is not distracting for you. So my very first most important thing that I found the most helpful is, what is your why? Why do you want to recover? Everyone has their own individual reasons, but for you, like, what are the reasons for you that you want to? And the reasons that you have might be about other people. I had a very long list of reasons, some of them being I want to be a parent one day. I want to show a healthy relationship with food to my future kids, but also to the kids that are currently in my life and other people that are in my life currently. I want to show the people that I love how I want them to take care of themselves. That was a big driver for me, and it does involve other people, which is okay. It's okay if your drivers involve other people, as long as there's something that's motivating you. What I did is I wrote all of my whys at the front of my journal, and I was able to reference it constantly, make it all pretty, put it as a phone background, put it on a bathroom mirror, put it on your bedroom door, put it wherever you need to remind yourself why you're doing this, because on days when it's hard, those reminders are really like a saving grace. And I highly recommend making a long list, like 5 or more things of why you want to get better. It can be physical things. Want to recover so that you are able to go on long walks or hikes, or be able to go swimming, or to be able to do a number of things. It can be mental, physical. Try to keep it away from appearances. Whatever motivates you to get better is a motivator, in my opinion. I think that that's great. Writing them down and having them posted as many places as you can, just to remind yourself. And that is going to be your first step on hard days or hard moments, is to just reference your list and remind yourself that even though eating this particular thing or wearing this particular clothes or keeping food in your body might be hard in this moment, you're doing it to reach a larger goal, which has always helped me. That is kind of the biggest overarching thing that I find helpful, and then we're going to go into a little bit more of specifics. So I want to start talking about social media and boundaries, and then we're going to kind of go from there. This first little section is going to be delete and distance. I think that one of the first steps in your recovery journey that will help make this so easy for you is to delete all of your calorie apps. They are not serving you. They are tools that are not for your disposal. So I recommend deleting them as soon as possible. If they're not there, you won't reach for them. If you don't have the accounts, you won't reach for them. Similarly, if you have body checking photos or that you've taken or saved on social media, delete them all. They are not for you. They are not a tool that is accessible for you, so just get rid of them. It's not something that is going to help you with your goals. Along with this, with deleting and distancing, I recommend doing a following audit, like people that you follow on social media. So spend some time and go through the number of people who you follow on social media and really think if their account is serving your recovery. You have to be selfish, you have to put yourself first, and that is okay. So if it's family members, if it's friends, if it's people in your class, and you don't feel comfortable unfollowing them because it might create a weird dynamic, just put them on mute, and then you can reference their page another time when you're in a healthy space. But I recommend unfollowing brands and influencers and anyone who is making you feel bad about your body. And if it's family members or people you still want to be in contact with, just mute them for now, and you can always unmute them when you feel like you're in a safer space to do so. All this being said, I do have some accounts that I recommend. I have followed a lot of fantastic people on social media over the last couple years, the recovery and body acceptance space. So on my Instagram, I have a highlight reel called Lovely People, and I highly recommend that you check it out if you're looking to add some positivity to your feed. But moving right along. Along with this is a really tricky one, but for deleting and distancing, try to distance yourself from people in your real life that are not respecting your boundaries. If you have boundaries where you don't want people around you to talk about food or bodies or calories or anything that is personally triggering for you, and if people are not respecting those boundaries, it is okay for you to distance yourself from them forever or for the time being, whatever you need. If people are not respecting your boundaries and your needs, then those are people that may not be the best to be in your life right now or for longer term. That's for you to decide, of course. People that respect your boundaries are the ones that you need in your support circle. So consider distancing yourself from people who are not supporting you, even family members. And I know that's going to sound really hard, but if you have to distance yourself from people who won't respect your boundaries, you might have to distance yourself from people that you even live with. And that might just be finding opportunities to eat meals with people who are in your support system rather than people who aren't, finding ways to spend more time with people who are supportive of you. And naturally, that will just come about if you're focusing on your recovery goals. You have to put yourself first, and it doesn't make you selfish, it doesn't make you a bad person to put your own needs first. Did you see that with my chest? So I think that is everything for my delete and distance category. If there's anything you can think of, please leave it down below and I can pin or like it or something if it is relevant to the situation, because I think there are a lot of things that you can distance yourself from that will help you to stop thinking about your eating disorder in these ways. Another thing is, once you unfollow these maybe diet focused pages or ones that hyperfixate on bodies, your feed and explore page on social media will naturally start to change. So over time in my recovery, I was liking more photos of memes for shows that I liked or for books. I fell into booktube and to like book talk and stuff, and it has completely morphed my explore page into something that feels safe to me and that doesn't feel triggering, which is really important because social media is a tool and I want to use it to support my recovery and not hinder it. Now that you have all of your calorie apps deleted from your phone, you now will have the storage to download my favorite app called Recovery Record. This is not sponsored by Recovery Record at all. It was required that I download it by my therapist and my care team, and I love this app. I've used it less and less now that I'm in this remission stage, but I do love Recovery Record. I think it's a fantastic app and it's totally free to use. You can connect it with your care provider so that they can see the meals that you eat. It has a very similar platform and interface to other like calorie counting apps. However, it doesn't include calories, macros of any kind. It's talking about the feelings you have before and after you eat meals, if you had any negative habits that you used to cope with those meals, if you use positive coping skills. And it's a great way to A, track your progress, B, keep in touch with your care team, and C, just to like reflect on your meal. And it sends you reminders for meals, because I know a lot of people forget to eat their meals, 3 meals and 3 snacks. It sends you reminders at specific times and you can customize things. I can't recommend this app enough. It has helped me so much in my recovery. Like, and didn't think that it was going to help me this much, but it actually did. And anytime I'm starting to feel like things are getting tricky for me again, I start using the app more regularly, and I really encourage you to check it out. If Recovery Record is something that you aren't interested in, I still recommend finding an accountability system, either through a friend or a support group, like a more traditional care team of therapist, dietitian, nutritionist, etc. Having a support team is so helpful with your accountability, because if you tell someone your goals, you're more likely to keep up with them. So one of the things for me is I did a morning breakfast group once a week with other people who were also struggling with eating disorders that I connected to through my care team at my local health center clinic. My doctor's office. I got it through my doctor's office. So I started this group where we all ate breakfast together, and then we talked about the week. We talked about the meal that we ate, and it was really nice to process things and to also know that I wasn't alone. But another great way to have a support system is to ask people like, hey, I need to eat meals with you more regularly so that I will eat them. And you can maybe do, if it's someone you live with, to make sure you have set times that you eat dinner, breakfast, lunch, whatever works with schedules. You could have Zoom meetings with friends and eat meals together. You could have picnics, and just having this accountability with meals and having these support systems is so helpful and encouraging. It also is a great exposure for people who, like me, still have some anxiety of eating around other people, helping 2 things at once. Helping 2 things at once, which is really cool. Along with support systems, I also wanted to talk about getting professional help, because I get asked this question a lot, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I got professional help. So if you are looking for some too, you can. I know some people have asked like what therapist I went to, like what care team place I went to, did I do inpatient and things like that. So no, I didn't do inpatient or outpatient treatment either. I still had a care team and I did support groups, but basically what I did was through my like insurance and doctor's office, there is also a mental health center, and so I called their support line and I was like, hey, hook me up with a therapist. And so they asked me a bunch of questions, and I said that I would like someone who specializes in eating disorders, because I knew that I wanted someone who had that extra knowledge. So they sent me to the eating disorder team, and they placed me with a therapist who then helped me to find a nutritionist, which if you watched my Q&A video, I didn't end up seeing for very long. And then I joined the support group breakfast group. So basically all I did was I just called and reached out to my local health center, and they set it all up pretty much. So it was very easy, and they were very supportive, which is cool. I know not everyone has had that experience, and it did take me quite a while to get to this point. There were times when I was turned away from help. So don't give up, keep trying. No matter what state of recovery you're in or what your body looks like, you deserve treatment. The next thing on my list is to make a list of meals and snacks. This was super fun for me. I actually have mine in my journal right here. So here's my little list of meals and snacks, and I put some cute stickers on it. If you want a closer look at this, I have a photo of it on my Instagram feed, so you can check it out if you want to actually read my list. But basically what I did was I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, and then I also have places to order food from that are local from me. And whenever I've got the notification from Recovery Record, it's time to eat lunch, and I don't want to eat lunch and I can't think of something and it's discouraging me from wanting to eat, I'll pull out my notebook and I look under lunch ideas, and it's marked here that I need at least 3 food groups to qualify for a lunch. And then I can look down the list and go, how about a bagel sandwich with cream cheese and some veggies? That sounds pretty good. Or what about making a mini pizza out of a tortilla or a flatbread with some cheese and veggies from the fridge? So I can go through and find something. Similarly with breakfast and dinner, usually we eat dinner as a family, but if we don't, I have a list. And then for snacks, I have it listed for 2 or more food groups and then a bunch of different snack ideas. And this really helps me when I'm in a rut to make sure that I'm eating all my meals and all my snacks. And I highly recommend making a little list. If you are in need of some meal inspiration, I have a couple of videos where I talk about my favorite breakfasts and favorite lunches, and I'm hoping to do more of them in the future about dinners and snacks as well. But just remember that if you love breakfast foods, those can be eaten at any time of day. If you love pancakes and you want them for dinner, have them for dinner. If you want them for a snack, have them for a snack. Whatever it takes to get you to get your 3 meals and 3 snacks, just do what you gotta do. Having the list is actually so helpful though. I am really happy that I made it, because when I'm having a hard time, the last thing that I want to do is try to think of a meal to eat. So having this ready is super handy. Along with this, find your safe foods. I had never thought about this before until I started my group, my breakfast group, but one of the people in the group suggested I make a list of all of the safe foods that I have. And essentially what this is foods that I can eat without any eating disorder thoughts. And I know that a lot of people will say I don't have any, and you might not have any right now, but you'll find them. One of mine, no shocker here, is the Gardein chicken tenders. They are one of my favorite foods in the entire world, and I never get tired of them. I make an effort to make sure we always have a bag in the freezer, and maybe 1 extra just in case. And it is so nice to, if I can't think of anything to eat, to have that, put a sweet potato in the oven, have my Gardein nuggets, some sweet potato, and like some chips or a smoothie or something, and call it a day. And it is a fantastic way for me to have something handy that I know that I'll love. Something that I noticed when I was really like in the depths of my eating disorder is I ate so much food that I didn't like because I thought that it was good for me. And once I stopped doing that, eating became so much more fun and enjoyable because I was eating stuff that I actually enjoyed. So buy food that you actually enjoy and you'll eat it. I promise it'll be easier if you actually buy food that you enjoy. So make a list of foods that you know are safe and go-tos for you, and they're different for everybody. So what may be a safe food for you may be a fear food for somebody else, and that's totally okay. Don't let their own eating disorder thoughts influence yours. You have your own situation and just focus on what works for you, because that's great. So now that you have a list of a bunch of meal and snack ideas, you also have a list of foods that you love, you have a list of things that are going to keep you motivated, you have Recovery Record, you've totally cleaned out your social media and your personal social bubbles. You're on track here. Something else that I know everyone's gonna be like, yes, Charlie, we know, is to journal everything. Journaling has helped me process so much throughout this whole journey, and it really helps me to kind of pinpoint my emotions and where I'm at in terms of recovery. And even just journaling for a few minutes, I can kind of get an idea of what I need to do to fix things in my particular situation. Something I like to do in my journals, I know people ask me all the time about journaling prompts, and I personally don't use a ton of journaling prompts. Sometimes I do. Usually I just am writing about feelings or events that have happened. But if I'm feeling anxious around food or around anything, I do this thing that I call stresses and solutions. And basically I just write down everything that is stressing me out. everything that is causing me anxiety to any degree. It could be something as like my skin is dry and it's making me anxious because I have a thing with texture and touch, and having dry skin makes me feel icky. It could be something bigger, like I'm worried about fire season this year in California. Anything that's stressing me out to any degree. And then I write down a solution. It doesn't have to be a solution to fix the problem, but what am I going to do in this moment to make things easier? For the dry skin situation, I could say, I have a few minutes before class. I'm going to go put on some lotion. Something bigger, like being afraid of fires, I can write as my solution, this is out of my control. I'm going to do what I can control. Something that I can control right now that is healthy for me to control is to make a list of things I would grab in an emergency. That's a solution that I can do that is going to give me control of something that's not food or my body, because controlling food is not going to solve what I'm stressed about, and it gives me an action to do that will take my mind off of what's stressing me out. This can be applied to food too, so if I'm stressed about going out to a restaurant and that's my side on the stress, my solution could be looking up the menu ahead of time and picking out what I'm going to order, or calling whoever I'm with and asking if we can get to the restaurant a little early, because sometimes that makes me feel a little better. So whatever works for you, but stresses and solutions in journaling, I really enjoy it and it helps me a lot, and I know that there's not a solution to everything, and sometimes that's what I write is there's nothing I can do to fix this and I just have to accept it, and sometimes even just writing it kind of makes it easier. I've mentioned this many times, but I really enjoyed the podcast called Food Psych by Christy Harrison, who is a registered dietitian. I listened to it a lot last year, and once I felt like I got what I needed out of it, I stopped listening, because sometimes when you think about food and recovery and diet culture too much, it becomes a different type of obsession, and so knowing when to stop consuming this media is also important. But I highly recommend it. It's super informational, and I think that it is a great resource for people to reference. Lastly, try not to be too hard on yourself. I know that is really hard, not to be too hard on yourself. I know that I am very hard on myself a lot of times in recovery, but just know that it's a long process, but it's worth it. It feels so good to feel good. Everyone who is struggling with their food or with body or their relationship with those things or exercise finds peace through them and finds a way to enjoy life for other things other than food and body. I think that, like I said at the beginning, there's no tip that I could give to help you recover. There's no list of 5 steps that are going to magically make you feel comfortable around food and in your body again. But I hope that this list of things that have helped me and have helped me move forward are able to help you in some way, even if it's a little bit. So like I said at the beginning, take what you need and leave what you don't, and know that I'm here to support you, and I hope that your journey goes smoothly, and know that if there's a setback, it's not your fault, and that you just gotta keep on going and reference your list and make a yummy snack, and everything will be okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was a little tricky for me to do this one because I am like freshly into this remission stage, and kind of reflecting on my recovery journey has been interesting because it has been long and arduous and still rewarding all the same. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And before I end this video, if you want to log off now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Patreon. So if you want to log off, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. But if you want to stick around and hear me talk about Patreon for a couple minutes, then you can stay. So like I said at the beginning, I have started Patreon, and if you don't know, Patreon is kind of the way I've seen it described is a monthly subscription social media service. I'll be posting things on my Patreon and doing monthly live streams, and you can pay monthly to subscribe to my Patreon. It is $3 a month right now. I only have one tier option, and it is an all access tier, which means anything that I post there is for all of my patrons. Sometimes there are tier levels, but I wanted everything to just be at the entry level tier. So once a month, I'm hoping to do a live stream / Q&A that's between half an hour and an hour long, depending on how long it goes. Maybe a little longer, maybe shorter. shorter depending on everyone that's involved. Currently on my Patreon right now, I have a discount code for my entire Etsy shop that will stay up indefinitely, so you can get 10% off if you are a patron. Also, everyone who subscribes to my Patreon will get early access to my Etsy drops and video ideas, so you can kind of be part of this whole thing. I basically just want it to be an extension of this little corner of the internet that I've created. I am just really excited about it. I'm also posting some other stuff, like some PDFs that I've done of some art that I've made. I have a coloring book that I made at the beginning of quarantine that you can download if you're interested, if you follow me on Patreon. But also I've had a lot of people ask me to share more about my creative writing. So I am going to be talking more about my creative writing on my Patreon, and also probably sharing some, which is really scary, but I also know that eventually I'm gonna have to do it, and I might as well do it for people who are willing to listen. So if you want to check out my Patreon, it'll be linked down below in the description, and it will be in the description for the rest of my future videos. It's also going to be in my link tree on my Instagram, so if you ever are curious about it, you can look there. And if you have any questions or concerns about Patreon in general, or me having a Patreon, please feel free to DM me or leave a comment, and I'd love to have a conversation about it. I know a lot of people were concerned that if I started a Patreon that things would change on my YouTube channel, and for people who can't afford it or aren't interested in Patreon would feel left out from the conversation. And I just want to assure you that everything here and on my Instagram is going to stay exactly as it is. In fact, I think I'm going to be gearing up for more videos coming soon in the summer because I won't be taking any classes. So just know that this is still my priority, and Patreon is just going to be an extra thing. So if you're interested, please check it out. I'm really excited about it, and for people who have already started looking at it, I'm really grateful for you, and I'm grateful for everyone who isn't also looking at my Patreon, because you've made it this far, so that's great. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.